Hello and welcome, friends. It's been some while that we've not uploaded any video on this YouTube channel. Let's get started with the topic today, which is preparing for exam PL-200, which is Microsoft Power Platform Functional Consultant. So this exam is being put into more emphasis by Microsoft instead of the PL-100, which is the Microsoft Power Platform App Maker Associate. So I am preparing after passing my PL-900 exams, which is Microsoft Power Platform Fundamentals exam, which I did in last year. And my main focus for this video is how I will do so that I pass this exam. So what the exams requires is that I perform discovery with the client, of course. It's often done with workshops and talking with the clients, having client meetings, either physically by going at their place or virtually, capture their requirements, engage subject matter experts and stakeholders, configure business solutions by using Microsoft Power Platform tools and components. So what you will do is you will create application enhancement, tailored user experiences, and process automation. So what Microsoft expects is that you implement the design provided by and in collaboration with a solution architect. So this is a person who has passed the PL 600 exams and who is a solution architect who will basically do the design for the solution. And then you as a functional consultant, you will be responsible to implementing the design. So you will need to work in as a team in a team where there's a solution architect and the standards, branding, and artifacts established by UX designers. You implement integrations with third-party applications and services. Yeah, of course, there are many clients where there are other applications which they're currently using maybe for many years, and your task is to integrate it uh, in the current solution. And of course, the solution architect has already given his thought about that. You generate training documentation and you facilitate training and enablement. Yeah, so you normally you need to have good communication skills because you will empower, enable, train the end user on the new solution built on Power Platform. You must interact and effectively communicate with members of a delivery team, stakeholders, and customer teams while championing for their success. You must have an understanding of the application lifecycle management, ALM practices for Microsoft Power Platform, and quality assurance. You should be familiar with using the following Microsoft Power Platform components, Dataverse, which we have covered in PL 900, where you got to understand what it is. Microsoft Power Apps, where you've got practice on using Canvas app and model-driven apps. Microsoft Power Automate Cloud Flows. It's precise cloud flows because they are also the desktop flows which exist. Microsoft Power Pages, Microsoft Power Platform environments. You should have proficiency in data modeling, which is very important for building Microsoft Power Apps, notably the model-driven apps. User experience design, again for Microsoft Power Apps, where you will be working, for example, on developing Canvas apps, where user experience, you can make tailor-made user experience for the customer. And requirements analysis, where you understand what the customer wants. Okay, English language was updated in January. Okay, passing score is 700. Watch PL-200 prep videos on Learn, so you can have a look at what there is. Exam readiness zone. So here we can see that Microsoft wants you to pass the PL-200 exams by doing the self-study because they give you self-study resources like hands-on labs. And you have Microsoft documentation, which you can access by going on learn.microsoft.com. And then you click on product documentation, you click on Power Platform, and here you go. You can read the documentation on the different products that are available. For example, um, let's say Power Apps or Power Automate. Let's say Power Apps. So here you are on the official documentation where you can on a specific topic, like you want to know what are deploying solutions using pipelines. You don't know anything about that, so you can see here on the left there are the different topics in a list format, and you can go through the different documentation for Power Platform. For example, overview of pipelines in Power Platform. So you go on the learn.microsoft website, product documentation, and then choose Power Platform. And then here you can read everything on a topic. And also you can use the search, which is very nice, very cool. That will help you. So for example, here, for application lifecycle management, you can use pipelines. The benefits of pipelines were they centrally govern citizen-led and pro-dev-led projects at scale. So citizen-led means that it's us, the local developers, and pro-dev means the high-code developers. They are termed as professional developers, where the skill is scarce. So let's get started with setting up the pipeline. So create and run pipeline to easily deploy solutions to environments. There are two different ways to set up platform host and custom host. This is the default tenant-wide platform host. Then we have custom host. So there's quite a lot of, as you can see in the documentation. So this is the pipeline. As your app advances, you're searching with practice the application lifecycle management by building security in an isolated environment location. So the people using it don't run issues when you work on it, when you move to permanent place and share there. So this is the development environment. So then you deploy it to the test. So it's scheduled to deploy. Cool. So this is an example of how you can get informed.
In order to leverage the security and connectivity of other modes of services, these are all aspects of the licensing platform. So you control, automate, and strengthen the business. You need to know to create tables like a new table. You can modify existing tables properties by selecting the settings and editing the properties that are in. These are known as metadata. There's also more than one type of table. You can standard tables, activity tables, virtual tables. And these tables enable you to build applications on top of your data. Note that the tables that are provided out of the box, such as accounts and contact and collective leads, we create custom tables or edit those tables to meet our business requirements. We can also create relationships between tables. So you can go create one-to-many and many-to-many relationships. So you need to understand how you can do it. And the settings to do it. When we create a relationship, we can specify how the data in the two different tables related behave together. So we can specify this read through or read. We can also create new columns of tables. We can click that column, we select our data type, and we can select other properties of the column. We can also edit existing columns.
So here we can see very important to understand that we will be asked questions on this type of cascade, delete, remove, link, restrict when doing relationships between tables. Next, we have the column data types, which is very well put in the screenshot, understanding the different data types that exist. And then we have the key column details, enable auditing. And then we have the different types of columns, which is calculated field, roll-up field, and formula field. So calculated field means you specify a formula, a calculation to be done on the field. Rollup means you can do aggregation based on other tables. And formula means you use the PowerFX formula and then you pass the formula in the column.
Tables and columns that deal with search. You can also audit. Make this kind of track data chains. So understanding how you data whether you do it, security is something you need to make sure you're comfortable with. Understand the significance of it. Dataverse has a number of different ways of importing data data, CSV, Excel, doing our data, and then we stack and then launch a block Power Query. Then report or ingest data into database tables, use Power Query, or just report directly from Excel and back to the columns and tables with the data on. You can also use Power Automate to import data. And there's a number of third-party tools that you use that allow data migrations where you pull data into database. Dataverse as well has other capabilities such as duplicate detection. So you can enable duplicate detection on a table. That's the first step. You then need to go create the duplicate detection rule that specifies which of the matching columns so to detect duplicate data, and then you need to go and activate that rule. That is a wizard that takes you through that process. Similarly, we can get rid of stale data, delete stale data using the bulk deletion. This wizard when you say, okay, I want to select this table, you create a query or use the existing view to find the data you want to delete, and then set that bulk deletion process to run on the shelf. One thing that's important is to minimize your data storage. Bulk deletion is a really good way of being able to do that. Dataverse has a comprehensive security model. In this example, you don't need to know the full complexity of the security model, but you need to know the basics. And the basics of the security model are around business units and security logs. So you'll need to define your business units. Your business units are your collection of users, the same hierarchy. And it's the way we enable our system to segment data into sets of users. So I'll have one set of user access, one set of records, and then another set of users, another set of records, say partners or different countries. Then you create security roles. There's a number of out-the-box security roles. It uses role-based access control. And what they do is they specify privileges conditions on each table. So allow me to whether I can create them, whether I can read records. And actually the scope of one, is it just scope being my own record or all records? Or records within my business.
So here we can see that the root business unit is the top level. Each business unit can have just one parent business unit and multiple child business units with associated security roles and users. Each user assigned to one and only one business unit. You cannot add a user to a business unit directly. Only permission users are assigned to the root business. You need to know about the rules. For example, the rules involving system administration security configuration, or system administrator, system customizer, environment maker. System admin and system customizer are you can use when they are the dataverse, and environment maker when there is no dataverse. Owners, team, and access.
There's a separate permission for rights to be able to update records as well as deleting records. You've also got a pending PL-2. If I say this one of the more confusing things is that a pending PL-2 would around relationships. They say, can I attach records to this table? And a PL-2 says, can I attach this record to another record? Understanding how a PL-2 works is a common use basically constantly operates. There's also a sign and share. These are to be ownership. It's like records and also sharing records, which is a common way of getting around strict security. There's also, as I say, the standard roles. So, system administrator, this gives you pretty much everything. System customizer gives you access to your own data, but also the ability to customize to create apps. And then the environment maker is a special role that is around allowing users to create their own apps and flows. What I've described so far controls access to records. Sometimes this data is sensitive, individual columns of data within a row that are sensitive to go necessarily on everybody, you have to read them, passwords, for instance. And column level security allows you to control access to those columns. They're separate from your row level security. You have to enable column security. You have to then go and create there also column security profile, so that you can see update, create the values in that column, and then you need to assign users to use that. What is really useful if you're an organization to manage your use, especially about joiners and you don't want to have to manage the use groups with advice of enter ID. You link those groups to teams within our database environment, and then when users get added to that advice of enter ID, they will automatically get added into database and added to that team. This is how we manage users at scale. So in this video, we visited how to manage the data model, create tables, columns, relationships, talk about database, look at security, search, imports data, and finally we looked at the security. That's the security model and some of the security features available in the database. With that, we come to the end of episode 1. We hope you join us for episode 2, where we'll be looking at creating apps as well as apps.
So that was one video for the exam readiness. So where you get a brief introduction to configuring Dataverse, and the next episode is preparing Create Apps by Microsoft Power Apps.
Welcome back. My name is Julian Sharp and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. This is the PL-200 exam video series, and in the second episode, we'll be reviewing how to create apps like Microsoft Power Apps. Within this episode, we'll look at creating multi-mirrored apps, describing campus apps, and building Microsoft Power Pages. These 3 objectives are all around building user interface components for our users. I want you to notice one thing about the second one, describe campus apps. The verbs that are used in these study guides are actually important because describe means it's a lower cognitive level. It's lower than the others. It's mainly about describing rather than doing or having detail. So to reflect that in your study, campus apps are not examined as deeply as monitoring apps or our pages. So monitoring apps are based around our database data. And for every table, we have forms. There are four main form types. Name form, which is what mostly used when creating updated records. There's a quick view form, which is used to display data, related data. Quick create, to like to quickly create data. And actually, quick create is the only form that's not created by default. You have to go to enable create and make no create quick create form. And the card form is used in press data, such as interactive dashboards. We can have more than one form. You can have multiple main forms, multiple quick view forms, but only the main form is controlled through security. And you need to understand how forms are displayed based on security and the form order. The other thing which is important to understand is around the form types, the form structure. In a main form, you'll have a header and then a body. And then within body, you have tabs. And then within tabs, you have sections. And within sections, we add our controls. Those controls can either be columns for the table or some of the more advanced controls. So here are some of the extra controls we can add. We can display data in groups. So for instance, I can have a form that's open and I can show its related record in a subgroup, which is a read-only grid of data. So you can see the associated records. We can also add in an editable grid, which allows you to edit the data in line. And there's actually now a new paragraph grid control that does both. We read only for everything. That's the one I want to say. Other things we can display in the form, say iframes. Go to better another website or another web application in an iframe. I think, however, one of the most important ones is the timeline control, which displays a list of your activities in a timeline view. That's a highly configurable control. It's one of the controls I think you should really get an understanding of. As well as that, there's other display controls. There's more that are in being developed to allow you to have a richer user interface. Views are essentially queries on our database tables. They display a list. As well as that, there's other display controls. There's more that are in being developed to allow you to have a richer user interface. Views are essentially queries on our database tables. They display a list of records from our table. And there's a number of different types of view. There are personal views that a user can create in their own app. And if they want, they can share them with other people. There are system views. There's a number of out-of-the-box views which are used in different places, such as the lookup, in searching for records, or in the associated view. You can go edit those to display to columns and maybe filter into those with them. And then there are the public views, which a user can select from and display this. These are where you spend most of your time. You can also use these in campus apps. They're important because they display the data relevant to the user. And when we build a views, you need to know how to add columns, filter, and sort. We can create a more rich user interface by embedding custom pages within our model-driven apps. So they work similar to campus apps in a way. They look like campus apps. They allow us to build richer user interface over and above your standard forms, which display data from one record. Here I can build a more rich user interface, and we can add these into our model-driven app. It's something I tend to do a lot more now when I'm doing my solutions. A page, a custom page is a separate component we just add into our app. We can also extend the command line by adding tools, actions behind it, specify visibility of the button. So with a power effect formula or maybe JavaScript. Power effect is in scope of this example, JavaScript this. And we can then specify the action that will take place when a user clicks on the button or selects the button. So for instance, we can create those, typically our chosen states. We can also embed other parts of the Power Platform within our Volta app. What the main ones is I can embed Power BI visualizations. I can embed a tile, which is the individual visualization, in that dashboard or within a board. I can embed the entire dashboard here or the entire report, which will create an unlisted dashboards. One thing to notice, the security for Power BI and Volta Campus apps is separate. You need to make sure the Power BI components are shared with your users. Otherwise, they'll see an error message when you try to access that Power BI visual. Campus apps can only display an individual tile in Campus apps really. You can embed multiple tiles. All these, it's actually quite simple. You just go select the word Power BI workspace, select which dashboard you want, then select the tile. Beware of adding too many tiles onto this app, making all this not great. The other thing we can do is the reverse. We can actually embed a Campus app inside of Power BI report to allow users to take action within a Power BI report dashboard without having to navigate to that app. Now we come on to Campus apps, and notice it's described. So it's explaining how Campus apps work and what's involved. Campus apps are slightly different to Volta apps, where in Volta apps we edit every component. We edit forms, we edit views, we edit all dashboards, all separate, with separate editors, and then we compose the app by bringing things together. In a Volta app, sorry, the Campus app, we just use and edit the app as a whole. We edit the app, we add screens, and we add controls. And we actually have to control more. We have to add more formulas to control, say, navigation. So I want to move from one screen to another screen, I have to go and use Power Effects formulas that tell the app what to do when something clicks on it. So I use the navigate formula to go from one screen to another, and I use the back formula to go back. We'll talk about Power Automate later, but what you can do is, if you've got some complex logic, I can form that logic in a Power Automate flow. I can call that flow directly from the app and pass data to the flow and get response back. So I sort of talked about controls. So controls are where displaying data or entering data. There's lots of different types of control available in Campus app, much more than you have in Volta. And when you add a control, there are lots of properties you set. Its visibility, size, color, its hover color. And we can set these up manually or use Power Effects formulas. That's the secret really behind Campus app. Power Effects formulas, so 200 formulas. They're very Excel-like. They allow you to perform calculations, embed this, that, so this visibility, this value, this control, this value, this support. We can use it to format the output and perform actions, such as creating records with the patch name. To save yourself having to repeat formulas, we can use variables, we can use it to capture values, set values, then use those variables in our formulas or automated control display controls. And there are three types of variables. So global, which across the app, context variables, and they're over the screen, or collections, which are like an in-memory array, collection of records. And that is just like a data source. It helps us. But then we've got error handling. So by default, if an error happens, you'll get it displayed on screen. If I want to handle that better, and display a different error message to the user, or maybe take action. So you need to understand that. Detect errors, report errors. Power Pages, you might see referred to as portal apps. That was their old name. They're now a separate part of the Power App rather than the Power App. And Power Pages are used to create websites that expose your data that's held in Dataverse to external users. There is now a portal studio which allows you to edit your site, add pages, control what's displayed, display listed data, or even forms, which allow you to interact with your data. You can make personalize your site or pages using liquid templates. That's really outside the scope of PL-200. But there's also a whole load of other facilities to make really rich sites. It's actually a mixture of content management system and the ability to interact with data. So forms, let's talk about those. It actually reuses the main forms created for that. The list, again, it reuses the views from your model for that to display data. And what you can do with that is enable users to go create and update records. We'll talk about the security model on this. There's actually two types of form. There's the basic form, which just allows you to create and update records. Then there's the multi-step form, which allows you to create a wizard-like experience over multiple tables. You see on the right-hand side there, a view, and then the ability to control actions. There's a selection for the studio. It's specified to be when you create and update records, you can download events as well. As I said, there's a whole series of advanced features. You don't need to know these in detail. I said, but just need to know what's there. For instance, we talk about embedding Power BI with multiple apps. Canvas apps can do the same in page site. We allow them to download. We've got integration with SharePoint. We've got a separate search, which interacts with the database server we talked about in the first episode. As well as that, it supports multiple languages, and it's actually a very efficient site. You don't need to manage the website. It does all of this work. All you do is change the components and deploy them. Actually, also deploys it there. Security, as I said, is slightly different from database. Yeah, because there are no users, you're not logged in as users. It actually uses the contact record as the user record in the site. And therefore, we use a thing called web ROMs to control access to our data, our database data. Actually, web ROMs control access to pages within the site and data. We have table permissions and page permissions. So it's a combination of two different things. As well as that, we have templates. Power Page is actually based on technology called Bootstrap, which is essentially just HTML and CSS. And you can go and upload Bootstrap templates or build your own templates, and even edit the individual page templates within our Power Pages. Authentication. As I said, you don't have to have people in your tenant, your Active Directory, to enable access. You use the content. And there is a thing called local access that's only to be used for testing. What we can do is use external links providers, such as LinkedIn or Microsoft account, or even Azure B2C, to allow control, authentication, and access into the system. So we have two different things. We have the authentication, and then we have the authorization with the web. With that, we come to the end of episode 2. We hope you enjoy this for episode 3.
So here again, we can see that create apps by using the Power Apps is very important. There are 3 types of apps that we can create is the Canvas app, model-driven app, and the portal app, which uses Power Pages. Then we have logic and process automation.
Welcome back. My name is Julie Sharp, and I'm the Microsoft Certified Trainer. This is the PL-200 Examiner video series, the 3rd episode where you have to create and manage logic and process automation. Cloud flows and Power Automate, We look at this process flows, classic Dataverse workflow, and then low-code logic, which is a relatively new feature of Power Platform. When we look at these objectives, creative active cloud flows, which looks at the types of flow, need to understand things like how flows work, error handling, dynamic content, and particularly working with database rather than other data. This certification is very database focused. We really don't consider other data sources, apps, apps, or flows. This is process flows are database only and only work with the involvement of apps, so we how we build those. Understand the business process flow templates created to do that. We look at classic workflows, which have been around for a long time, like Dataverse. Those are it's a high-ish level. And then the no-code logic, no-code plugins, and also business. Remember that each of these bullet points that they include, and when you look at the percentage, we talk about this 20 to 25%. Now, it won't be evenly split between us. They find it's a heavier way to go, say 3.1, say to 3.4. I don't know. I'm just saying, understand. Just because there's more bullet points doesn't mean there's necessarily more questions. So let's look at the type of flow, or type of logic. So when we look at cloud flows, there are three real types of cloud. There's the automated flows. This is what most people think when they think about how automated flows. Flows that are triggered when the data changes, email arrives, that starts to flow off the background. We've got instant flows, where the flow is run manually, or it's called from something else, such as what we've discussed in the previous episode, when we're calling a Power Automate cloud flow before we get a campus, that's the type of instant flow. And then the schedule flow, from on the schedule. They run day, hour, week, file. And you can use those to make process data in or to make do an update and set status of data. Then we've got business process flows, which is its own objective in this exam, where we define a set of steps for users to follow. This is really runs inside the user interface. Really is talk about this guided process. We've got desktop flows, where we automate typically legacy applications on the desktop. And the way to differentiate this with cloud flows. Cloud flows work where there's a web service or API. Desktop flows generally use for legacy applications and services where there is no API, and the only interfaces that people pass to screen. Desktop flows essentially simulate the use. Classic workflows are Dataverse workflow that runs in real time. They allow us to go and update and create records within Dataverse as part of the same, which makes a change automatically do it at the same time. Background workflows, classic workflows, essentially are the same, just where they run. So classic workflows run in real time, on the transaction, background workflows run in the background. Really, you should probably use Power Automate for background. Every flow using connections, using connectors to connect to the data source. And every vector has triggers and actions. And if you look at the Dataverse vector, it has a trigger for when a record is created, or record when it's updated, when it's deleted. What is really important, especially the Dataverse update trigger, is the filter. So I only want this flow to run when an individual column is changed. I don't want it running for any change in data. Or I can also filter it only when a data column has a particular value. So I only say when the status is active. I only want this flow to run in those cases. I don't want it to run at other time because the flow will expire. This is a really good practice when you're building flows with database. The other things you can set on database triggers, the update events, is scope. These reflect our business unit hierarchy, which we talked about in the first episode. Those about the scope of this. We have flow that only runs for me, is the only way I make a change. Or alternatively, another flow that runs when anyone makes a change. That's why I do say scalable organization. When you build a flow really is just calling actions in different vectors. But what we have to do when we're building the flow is handle the fractions and handle if then else's conditions. Handling loops is very commonly applied to each loop. We need to make sure we handle errors. Because if the flow detects an error, it'll just stop. But we need to report the error or resolve the error or do something else. And then we've got variables, like campus apps, where you just start using a variable. Flows you need to initialize the variable as a separate step. Understanding all of these key features, I think it's probably the core of understanding how to automate. When you don't build a flow to help you, there's a thing called dynamic content, which is like taking a slot. It allows you to access the output of one step, which is the next step, without having to type the previous step, select dynamic content, select. So say I've got a get row action, choose a row, and then use the columns from that row is equal to my next step. Dynamic content. For more complex things, we have to use expressions. So expressions allow us to maybe parse the data or data structure data or other manipulations of the outputs. So understanding basic expressions, something again is very important when you're using database particularly. I want to set a lookup. You need to understand how to do that. We do specify the table name as well as the private key of the record. And there's also things such as many-to-many. If you do a many-to-many relationship, we don't create or update records, we use the later database. So it's actually quite a lot of action within the database connect. So it's probably 20 or 30 different actions to get all of those. How automate, one of the things I really like about Power Automate is the ability to build it interactive. So I can start building the flow and I can then run test with the Power Automate flow ends. I can test it, you can see the results, I can actually see the results of each step, inspect the data, and go, oh, that's why, or that's it, that field, not that other field. And I can then rerun it without having to go re-trigger like create the data and trigger the file. So the test is one of the most useful features of building flows and both lifetimes. We also have an ability to view flow results, flow run history, and then go into the passwords and again inspect the data that was processed as part of the flow. This is process flows appear above the form or embedded in the form in the form through that. You can see what appear on the right hand side. We have stages. Within stages, we have steps. Now, mostly the steps are columns within the table. But they can also be things such as running a cloud flow. This is one of the things I do a lot. I think it's a run slow button. Run a cloud. It's an instant flow. So it's an instant flow defined, we use the when a flow step is executed, triggering the maintenance connector. And the other thing we can probably use it with detail. We can specify the data that we want to get passed to the client. But using clicks on it, it only pops over the dial window, allowing your users to enter that data and pass it through to the flow. It's something I use, especially when there's no obvious automatic trigger for something happening when the user has to say, I want to run this now to generate constantly. One thing to be aware of when you're building instant flows, you need to build inside solution flows here or campus apps. They all need to be the same solution, but they want to be. We can also run workflow from our business process flow, either as a flow stack, just like we can, cloud flow. We can also run workflows when you transition from one stage to the next stage. This is quite a complicated to do today. Change the status or create records, so the exit stage, enter a stage, but it's the process flow. You can also run workflows automatically when you start a business process flow or you finish a business process flow. You can also manipulate stages as well. You can actually change the stages automatically with code, with JavaScript, client-side scripting, or even with Power to go change the stages. This is process flow state. The process is held in a separate table. There is a business process flow table created with the same name as a business process. This is quite important. Reporting and controlling the current stage of a business process. And you need to make sure users have access to the business process flow tables. One of the most common errors when you create business process flow and deploy it is to say the business process flow doesn't do what you have when you create business process flow, press the business process flow table. You then need to go to edit the user security roles, give privileges or full privileges, create the update on that business process flow table. Otherwise, they don't be able to see the business process flow in the bottom of that. So classic workflow. I've used classic workflow for years, and it has this dual mode, running either in the background or real time. And really the use case for classic workflow is real time, where it runs as part of the user's transaction. Workflow, database workflow works within database only. We trigger it when records are created or records are updated. And then we can perform actions within database, updating the record, changing the status of the record, creating new records, even sending it back. If I do a background workflow, you can also wait. One of the things that's useful maybe in a background workflow versus doing say Power Automate. Power Automate flows only last for this case. That's the maximum amount of time. Whereas I can actually have a background workflow. However, we strongly advise you to use Power Automate cloud flows rather than background flows because there's just so much more capability. I haven't been background workflow. So we use real-time workflows because they're a low-code way of creating updated records for navigation. It's just problems. Real-time workflows. Now, there's challenges writing workflows. You need to understand and monitor them, especially on the background workflows. You have to go with system jobs, check if they're failed or not. And also, it's like you have to bulk delete, for instance, to delete old, to workflow jobs. You also want to make sure you're not overloading the system and making user experience where I have too many workflows. And it is possible to create into the loop by having workload and updating that updates and that all triggers itself and that. One thing I do like is using child workflows, where I create reusable components because I create a child workflow which has steps like another workflow, and then use that baby in multiple places. It's actually the same with Power Automate platforms. I create a child workflow to get a good way of low-code plugins are easy.